Howdy folks, and welcome to the video for the Tier 4 Tech Tree Pan-American Cruiser, the Córdoba. So the Córdoba, the story of the Córdoba is you are losing HE shells and gaining a bunch of modern conveniences. So you don't get any HE shells, but you still get reasonably good guns outside of that. And you get 6-kilometer torpedoes, you get a defensive hydro, you get a heal, you get a really good turning radius. The speed is nothing to write home about, but you also get, when fully spec'd out at least, a 7.2 kilometer detect, which is insane. So is it worth it? That is a really great question. I think the Córdoba has the potential to be really impactful, but I suspect there's going to be a lot of games where it's going to be pretty frustrating. However, having said that, there's also a lot of games where most Tier 4 cruisers are pretty frustrating. So, you know, overall, the power level on Tier 4 cruisers is pretty low just to begin with. And like in this game, I'm going to land a torpedo on a destroyer. I'm going to do a bunch of damage to destroyers. I don't know why I am missing this Phoenix so badly. It seems like my aim is all right, but all the shells are going super low. So is the Córdoba a good Tier 4 cruiser? Man, tough call. I mean, so many of the Tier 4 cruisers are just kind of bad already. Like there, I got 2 citadels on that Phoenix. Now, they didn't really need those citadels because the torpedoes were coming. You do get improved ricochet angles, as you do with almost all ships that are AP only. The damage on destroyers was not great. Like overpens are only doing about 245 damage. The alpha here is 2450, which is not awful. Well, actually it kind of is. It's not that great. I mean, even for Tier 4. So I had a good game in the Córdoba. It's arguably more fun to play than some of the other Tier 4 cruisers just because you have so many more tools and options. But it's hard not to admit that the loss of HE is a pretty sad time, right? By the way, smokes are torpedo magnets, people. Like, don't smoke up and then just hang out in your smoke. It's going to take a while to come to fruition, but that Clemson up there is going to have a sad day. So, I mean, you see I'm just like pumping AP shells into this broadside destroyer, and I'm just not doing that much damage to him. But again, to be 100% clear, I'm trying to remember some of my other games in Tier 4 cruisers. I mean, even when you do have HE shells, there's a lot of Tier 4 cruisers that have poor dispersion or poor alpha, and they really don't do that much damage to destroyers either. Having torpedoes is super helpful. You get to do things like, oh, that torpedo hit the Minikaze. Oh, okay. All right. So I guess the player... I falsely impugned that Clemson player. During the game, I thought I'd hit the Clemson, but turns out I hit the Minikaze. So, yeah. By the way, the DD-214 that you see on the enemy team, that's one of the other ships I'm never going to get. That ship is only available to people who actually served in the military, which I did not. But it is just a copy of the Clemson. It is the same exact ship, just with different cosmetics. Speaking of cosmetics, there's a strange ship on the other team called the Desert Falcon, which is apparently a copy of the Furitaka. I had never heard of the Desert Falcon. I did not know that was a thing. It's interesting when Wargaming decides to make these ship copies versus making just like a new skin, a new camouflage. Yeah, this guy's going to do the same thing. Do not hang out in your smoke, friend. I can still see you. Anyway, yeah, Tier 4 cruisers are just kind of sad. We all know that. We've talked about it many times. Got that kill yoinked out from under me. But, I would say as tier 4 cruisers go, the Cordoba appeals to me because at least I just feel like it's more fun at least. Now, the problem is when you start dealing with people who are really good at the game and you got battleships and they angle to you, you're going to get into that situation where you're going to do 0 damage. You can't even set fires. So I can imagine fighting against, for example, like Gangut in this thing, and it might be a bit of a nightmare. And you are a light cruiser, so, one solid salvo from a battleship that catches you the wrong way and you're just completely destroyed. But you get heals, you get torps, you get better turning radius. You can almost play it a little bit like a destroyer. I mean, you don't have quite good enough concealment to make that work. You can't stealth torp, but you do get torpedoes. It's probably a pretty good ship for capping. The question becomes, how good of a ship is it against bots? And I really don't know. There weren't too many bots in this game, which is great, which is way better. So that's a good thing, but it does mean that I can't tell you how great this ship would be against bots. I suspect it's going to be not amazing, though. Having said that, the presence of the heals means that if you trade a little damage with bots, you can heal it up. And torpedoes are always a huge asset against bots. And the fact that it has a good turning radius means you can avoid enemy bot torpedoes, which is really helpful. So I don't know. This is the first, last, and only game I ever played in the Cordoba. It went well this game. What does that mean? I'm not sure. AP shells are super frustrating, especially when the dispersion's not that great, which it never is at tier 4. Like there, I shot 2 shells and I just completely whiffed on both of them. But I would, in as much as I would play any tier 4 cruiser again, I would consider tier 4 cruisers to me are kind of like, I was just talking about tier 6 destroyers. Like I feel like every class has kind of like the worst tier, and for destroyers it's tier 6, and for cruisers it's definitely tier 4. Like there's just a really sad spot here for some of these. But if you need to grind up the Pan American line, I think you can make the Cordoba work. I would just I'm extremely satisfied by that game, Wargaming. I would try to focus on the torpedoes, find places where you can make the AP shells work, make sure you're shooting at broadside targets or hit the bow or the stern, and just accept mentally that, that was 62 shells for only 22,000 damage. The hit, that's not so good per shell. So this is not going to be the most powerful cruiser. I will see you guys in the next video.